Everybody, this is Dr. Rao. It's almost 6 o'clock here. So I'm starting my room this time, titled Be Yourself. And part of that is a lot of thinking goes on, right? And we are not really the thinker or thinking person, right? So that's what I want to focus on. Um, so I chose the topic. What happens to you? Is that thinking happening by itself, or are you consciously, actively thinking? So this is like do you have a organized thinking or you have a disorganized thinking? This goes a lot into meditation, calming the mind, and resulting in silence of the mind, and getting benefit from that silent mind into deeper states of awareness and then happiness and all that. So many things are involved, but let's keep it very simple. On a daily basis, if you really reflect on it, is the thinking coming by itself, or are you actively thinking? That's my question. Okay. So today we're going to explore that a little bit. Anyway, let me first introduce myself. I am Dr. Rao Kolusu. I'm from Iowa. Right now I'm living in Iowa. Uh, I actually came from India in 1982, I think, beginning of 82. And ever since I have lived in either Midwest or New York or Chicago. So and then this Iowa, right? I've been trying to get rid of the uh, real problem here, the cold weather. But it somehow worked out that we had our clinic here, our school, kids' school was here, and then they completed their schooling, and then we also ran our clinic for a long time. But then now we are free of that clinic also. So we have the wings to sail, but then we have been having a good time here too. That's why we are staying here. Probably when I really go into the chief wellness officer, which I'm hunting, when that comes, I will really go to the warmer place probably. I did my MD in India and I did residency here in the United States and practiced as my own clinic for 4 decades altogether, I think. I also did a master's in biomedical informatics, so I do work with modern technology in the form of EMR implementation and education of the EMRs, and also big data and all that. Right now, I am really active, enthusiastically embraced artificial intelligence, and I'm getting a lot of benefit of that technology in the terms of saving time. It's still a tool for me, but then I use it to do my alternate duties or whatever functions I have to do, roles I have to as a physician, as an informatician, as a teacher, as a father, husband, and as a friend, as a colleague. So many things come my way. I'm fortunate I have those roles to play. Hopefully, you understand why I like the saving of time with this AI technology, and I happen to teach some classes also now for my friends. Hi, Gemma.
One sec, my
Yeah, sure.
earphones not working.
Sure. Okay.
I can't
So
hear you, sorry.
then I also am a student of ancient wisdom, and I think I benefited
Okay, now I can hear you. Yep.
the most from this type of education of yoga, Vedanta, and all that. See, that's where I learned this how to be not to be suppressive, but to be really commonsensical, efficient with the thought. I had the fortune not to allowing the thought to overwhelm me. And my thesis was on information overload. and current need of how to really understand the deleterious effects of this information overload and how to really protect our brains from it. Okay, so that's why I chose this topic. Just ask the question, maybe you're asking it for a lot of time. Are you thinking, or thinking is happening to you? And so you are going to be overwhelmed by thinking happening spontaneously or coming from nowhere, you don't know, and suddenly these thoughts come up. Versus you can have a purpose, you can have a focus, you can direct what you want to think about, and at the time when you are thinking about them, you don't have any extraneous thoughts of that activity. That's the question. Let's explore. Hi, Gemma. What do you think about that?
Because I think
Yeah.
it's a great conversation.
Yeah.
Um, I I in, I intentionally think,
Yeah.
but I also believe the thinking happens for me,
Yeah.
and then in that case, I have to be aware of it and then decide whether it's, like you say, discern it or
Yeah.
keep it, right? Like decide to keep it or to let
Yeah.
go of it.
Yeah.
And so it's a constant uh, fluctuation of back and forth with your
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. I actually I was writing a course on this, because a lot of people asked me, how is that your thinking is organized, and I am not able to do it because it goes vagabonding wherever it wants to. That's why I kind of wrote like, 5 or 6 principles based on that. The course is there, and those 6 principles we will discuss today, and then give an idea about what I'm talking about. It's not something you have to be a freak to have this, but it is more like understanding the movement of thought and then really responding in a way that is enjoyable and that is productive and peaceful, and it gives you some rest. You see, that is my intention. So, a lot of understanding I have about this is coming from yoga physiology. How the mind works, how the thoughts form, how the thoughts stay, how the thoughts go into our subconscious, and all that. It's like a thought has a career. It has an origin, it has a travel, and it has an ending and all that. Do we allow those thoughts to end at all? That is the main thing. And when you also don't think consciously, then that becomes a habit, and those mental habits are very difficult to get rid of. You know, we don't notice them because it doesn't seem there's such a problem. But then with the surroundings change, we don't have a piece of movement of peace, and then stay quiet. It's always like a running, doing, and thinking. Especially for us doctors, that happens all the time because there's so much data on so many patients we have to really think about, and then our minds are running. And I know a lot of my colleagues, they go home, they stay awake because all this data is reverberating in their brains. And that's why I thought this is a very practical thing that we need to address, and then at least share my experience of how I sleep so well, as easily as I can. That's why I thought I will take up this point. This is from mind management, more like, how can we manage the mind, how can we have a organized thought, how can we help ourselves, those kind of things. So have you tried anything like this, Gemma, before?
Yes, I have a good teacher who taught me through mind training through meditation,
Hmm.
visualization, and and just being aware of the body, mind, and speech as at the same time.
Yeah.
And your mind is going to be monkey like,
Yeah.
but it's whether you allow it to allow those thoughts that the ones that you don't want to
Yeah.
keep on going into another story.
Yeah.
And so whenever I talk to some friends and they ask me, I said, well, it's like if you can imagine Einstein's hair, that's how your thoughts are.
Poor guy. He's such a nice hair. They kind of put it all over, going in the. Yeah, I remember that picture. It's going all over. But Einstein is a great guy, though. You know what he said
Oh,
about mind control of thought? He said, somebody is trying to remember some phone numbers from the telephone book, I believe, and he said, why do you have to fill yourself with this unnecessary information? It is always there in the book. Go and consult it. Don't keep it in your mind. So his trick was how to keep things simple in his mind and then direct it towards the thing that he's exploring in unidirectional. It's kind of a meditative in a way, you know.
but don't you find that you have to make that, you have to have the motivation or the intention to do it? Otherwise, if
Yeah,
you just say, oh yeah, I'll just kind of watch it as time goes by, but you
yeah,
can't. You have to literally do
yeah.
something in order to get that result.
That's it. That's what we're going to get into. First of all, let me tell you, you mentioned monkey, right? And in yoga, they described like a um, donkey mind, butterfly mind, monkey mind, and then somebody who is focused and somebody who kind of stalled the thought. Because those are the five varieties of brain they talk about, right? The donkey mind is the dull mind, doesn't have any response, doesn't have any inspiration, or moodha they call it, right? And the second one is the butterfly life. The butterfly stays on a flower for a while and then is steady and then drinking all that. And suddenly it gets up and goes to some other flower. So some people are like that. They can be focused on for a few brief time, but then they have to move out, compulsively to something else. Of course, monkey is like kind of going all over, and it doesn't have the rest. It doesn't have the peace. It's a restless activity. No aim, nothing. And the ekagra means that one pointed orientedness. You know that is something that we desire, and also this niruddha, that means stalling the thought. Okay, so that means that you can really practice. But I will come to that in a later time. What we do first, what you do second, those things I will give after some people come here. Usually by 6 later 6:30, then some people are showing up. So we will reserve that discussion there. But we don't necessarily have to have these first three kinds of minds. You can take interest in things and get out of the donkey mind, and you can cultivate more staying power as a butterfly, and then you can actually restless mind and all that can be really controlled into that one pointedness or stalling the thought. Those three states as the later states, that's what we want, and yoga actively teaches that. you know so I was actually working with my wife and my sister this morning, and we were talking about this, and then we were exploring. We have this everyday satsang. She is in India, my sister. She's in Secunderabad, in India, and my wife and me are here. So we kind of meet on the video chat, and then we do what's called satsang, association of good people. We only talk about these important things. So we don't talk about gossip or news and all those things unless something relevant to us. So it's a good thing to get up in the morning and go with an elevated thought rather than really thinking about things that are not really positive and they're not really healthy for us. So what do you think about that early morning elevated thought, Jana?
Well, it's funny because I was just on another clubhouse room and I had to get off there so fast because it was just so toxic. And I just thought, oh god, I can't sit and listen to this. And then I found you
Yeah.
in as I was scrolling down, and I thought, oh, I better, I don't always look at the time. It's like 7 o'clock my time. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, I totally believe that. In fact, the way that I've been training myself is to um, even though I use a mantra, what it does is it just helps me not to have other thoughts going in my mind. I just keep that in my mind, and then and even if I recite it, even when I'm driving, and I will recite it, and I just find I come to peace when I'm driving. Usually, it's very I live in a metropolis. It's very busy. Cars are crazy drivers. So just to keep a peaceful mind, I just find that if I just do a little bit of recitation so that I'm not filling my mind with other unnecessary things, then it keeps me at a very calm state.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because early in the morning is very important time because it kind of gives us like a from there how the mind goes off. That's why elevated thought is very important. I have been talking about this for a long time. I told my friends and all the followers here several times. Okay? Get up in the morning. Don't get into these devices right away. Give some time. Maybe read about something that elevates your thought, or um, recollect something, or put in a journal that you want to write something about. Like for example, you want to write about gratitude, you want to write about your own affirmation, any of things like that, that will be wonderful. So I think once you put the mind in that frame, it's much easier to look at the things that are under your radar, like your elevated thought under your radar. They may not get you, they may not irritate you. So otherwise, a lot of people kind of unconsciously allow themselves to be vulnerable in that period, and that can continue. They are hurry to go, and they are kind of fidgety, and they don't eat properly, and they get on the traffic and they curse the traffic, curse the weather, all those things that go on in our modern life. I've seen that in Chicago back when I was in '80s there, and people used to curse that the snow because they hated the snow. But what can you do? It is there, the weather. They are trying to clean it, and most of them they used to clean it, but sometimes it is very difficult to do that. So I used to tell them about that because people are stressed about snow, stressed about weather, stressed about all that. So when I started this, I used to call it uh, ST, SMT, SMET, stress management for excessive tension. SMET. That is the program. You know what, Jonah? My whole auditorium filled up. We kind of did every week for 3, 4 weeks continuously. The whole auditorium built up because people are stressed out even then. So we had to talk to them about all these things, and which they understood, and they were grateful, and lots of hospital people employed them. Even then, even now, culture, if you take hospital culture, many people are burning out, the nurses, the doctors. That's why I'm kind of dedicated half of my time for that, burning out people. They come to me for just present their cases and understand what are the practicals they can do. I don't give them any medication.
That's amazing, Dr. Rao, because most of the, and I've been in the healthcare system as a nurse as well as a patient.
Yeah.
And I just found that a lot of the medical doctors, and I'm in Canada, so it's a little different,
Yeah.
but probably quite close to the Americans. Um, we there's so many that just don't believe in faith and spirituality, and even just resting your mind. Like they say, that won't work. Just take this pill. And it saddens me that they don't open their mind a little bit more. And I think maybe they're slowly, only because integrative medicine now is starting to become more popular.
Not only that, I think
they feel a little threatened.
Yeah, I think they look at me, and then I'm colleague, right? I'm fellow, and then that's why when they see me calm and cool in very, very difficult situations, usually administration, everybody calls me when they have these difficult patients or difficult families. They are going through a lot of problems, and they are fighting with them. They call me. So usually I go there, and then because I remain calm, they also get calm, and then I listen to them what they have to say, and then the appropriate answer is there. And also I kind of learned the trick of how to conduct these patient care conferences in a systematic way. The first of all, you should not go and meet them on the spot. You have to have some preparation. That is the one thing too. And then once you go there, what kind of attitude? Once you there, what you should do, what you should not do, and all that. And also having this understanding about your inner self, really makes it a real big difference. So looking at some colleague who is handling the same situations kind of coolly or with peace, I think that helps them to. And also when they come, uh, kind of problems with EMR, and they will be uh, picking out their hair because it's so difficult for them sometimes. But teaching that all those things, I used to tell them, don't think about all the bells and whistles people are presenting to you. All you want to do is what is it that is the most important for me, and focus on that. Otherwise, the IT staff, they want to show all the bells and whistles. That is too much. you know you learn what you need to do and then slowly build it on. So I used to take them through that. That's one of the chief tension for them, because they can't do the work properly, and they're being behind, and they can't figure out this technology. That happens. So they saw me through all those stages. Maybe that's why there was some confidentiality or something, and like a really looking at me and say, okay, we can talk to him. I think that may be the reason they listen.
Well, lots of respect, I'm sure. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
lots of
yeah.
respect. Yeah.
But there are
But it's
people.
true. Like when people see you,
Yeah,
Paul, when they see you peaceful,
yeah, that's
like
it.
my mom actually came one year
Mm.
to my home with my son, and the first time ever she came for Christmas.
Mm.
And usually our family dinners or family Christmases that are held elsewhere
Mm.
have always been stressful, usually because she gets all into this hyper state because of getting ready for everything.
Yeah.
But she came up, told me after or during, like after the dinner, she went and lied down on the floor. Like she just spread out, like as if she was so comfortable. And I said, wow, Mom, what are you doing? She says, oh, I'm just feeling so peaceful here.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's nice. She could feel the energy, right?
Yes.
The so it amazes me. And even now when I visit her in the home, she
No,
said,
you.
oh, she always loves it that I just sit there with her and
Yeah. Yeah, it
not
happened.
demand.
It happened same to me, Janma, because my friend who is a very famous film actor in India, right? And he kind of acted 13 languages, hundreds of films, so he's very popular, right? So he came to me just to spend time with us for 3 days, just to have some retreat, and he came. We went to the airport and picked him up when we came here around 11 in the morning, something like that. And then he kind of settled down in the sofa, like you were saying, your mom spread out. He also spread out into deep sleep for 1.5 hours. You know, he told me, I feel the vibe of peace and quietness here. That's why I got into that. I said, okay, we told him, we told the family also, don't disturb him, let him sleep. And they slept there. And then even though he has a room and everything, he didn't even go to the room. He just stayed there and slept there. And then he said, I feel so relaxed here the moment I come here. Okay? So it is a vibe, definitely, because if you have the energy that is harmonious among the people, love and affection, and considerate understanding. And when you are speaking, you remember I said about the pet, it should be pleasing, it should be spoken only when it is emergency, and it should be truth. If you follow this on a daily basis, that becomes its own generating positive energy you know and also, if you elevate your thought, and then you are really working on the values and principles of a higher dimension, that comes through, I think. you know So it's all a question of where you are, so
Yeah. Yeah, and I do have procrastination on my side, so I have to always watch myself.
yeah. Yeah, that's okay.
But I'm sure lots of people have that. But I'm just saying, I realize that, and I need to always keep an eye on myself.
I think there's somebody on the wisdom. Let's invite them, Jana. So they can talk also. Hello.
Doctor,
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Cosmic. Good name, Cosmic. I spoke with you the other day, right?
Yes, my friend. Yes, my friend.
Cosmic consciousness.
That's all there is.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is that is reflected in us. That's what we need to know. So it's all part of that cosmic energy that we are all part of, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what do you think about this topic?
I was, I came in, probably shouldn't have jumped up so soon.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question, but then you start talking about the dimension.
Yeah.
And you was like, maybe it happened, right?
Mhm.
It's no guarantee, but I always wanted to pick your brain because I'm always interested in how to articulate and help people free themselves of the thinking, the
Yeah.
duality, the confusion, the mischief maker,
Yeah.
the ego. And so I was just hoping I could participate in the conversation briefly.
Yeah. Sure. Go ahead.
Um,
Ask me.
well, I want to ask you, so be yourself. Are you thinking or thinking is happening? Is thinking organized? Are these inquiry questions or how do you approach
Yeah,
the question?
these are inquiry questions to stimulate people to explore them.
Right.
It's not like preaching something.
Right.
We don't need to preach anybody. They know the truth. So,
Yeah.
but we are friends. We are fellow human beings, and we want to understand things. I don't want to be identified with any religion, any country, because I don't like that. I kind of think we are all one family, and the earth, there's only one earth, and then we have this geographical divisions by our choice, but that is, I think, not wise anymore. Look at how the internet is all over, right? So people are really coming all over, so together. Even this clubhouse, I talk to many country people all the time. So it's not like I really delight in that. So the thing is, this thinking is very common to all of us, but a lot of people think unconsciously, kind of happening to them, coming from somewhere they think, but they don't have a kind of not
Insight.
yeah, kind of focused and directed us to the things that they are doing. And then when you do that, finishing them off. But then the problem is people don't think consciously, and also they kind of carry them on from that activity, and that is where the problem of rambling thought comes, and they can never know the peace that they otherwise would have you know
Yeah, it's very deep.
yeah.
And it's interesting to watch technology and AI
Yeah.
as it continues to show you everything is connected and
Yeah.
whatever knowledge people hold, um, the AI is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just proving that everything is
Yeah.
connected in the same in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
How information
Your name comes to that, to my mind when I see that it's like a not one brain intelligence, one brain thoughts. It's like a cosmic mind. Cosmic mind. You see,
Yeah,
yeah,
universal
collective, complete knowledge.
one.
Yeah, they're going through all that. Right? ChatGPT, what it does, it goes through all that data very quickly and comes up with a very coherent answer according to your question. But what it is tapping is that big, large language, right? And that is like a cosmic mind altogether. I don't mean to speak on your name, but I think that is very relevant. Don't you think so?
Yeah, artificial. It's an artificial thought, though.
Yeah, that's no problem. But what I'm saying is the data that we have
Right.
accumulated, the thing, exactly, you're right, because I don't use it as something spiritual, but more like a
No.
tool. It's a tool of using practicalities and all that, you know. But then, if you look at it, it is like all minds together, right? That way, it is cosmic mind. First,
I get what you're saying, but it's
yeah.
artificial. It's artificial.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, as the data. But you are coming from a cosmic consciousness that is completely separate. I understand that. But what I'm saying is, this is like a huge mind, all the minds together. Actually,
Right.
that guy who was inventing this chat GPT, and he left Google, I believe, and then he came on the TV, he was talking about it. He said, whereas it can process $100 trillion of data, our mind can do maybe 5 to 100 data pieces at a time. That is the cosmic mind we are dealing with. It may be materialistic, it may be data,
Yes, Metis.
yeah, but then
But it's
yeah, it is tool. But you know what? It gives you answers according to your queries. Suppose I ask that like these there are 5 states of mind according to the yoga, which I don't know you listen to them or not. I said something
uh-huh.
like a donkey mind, something like a butterfly mind,
Monkey.
like a monkey mind, something like a one pointedness, another one is stalling the mind. These are the 5 states that the Patanjali describes,
Okay.
and then he says each person can be in that at some time, or all the time, most of the time. So it doesn't have to be only one particular mind, just like that. Some people are evolved and they talk about samskaras and all that. So that makes sense, all those 5 states.
I don't understand enough of that
Yeah,
philosophy to say those different states. I know that there's thinking
yeah,
and that your brain has different activities and behaviors according to your conditioning and your upbringing and
yeah.
your reactions.
No, they're talking about functional mind put together,
So,
put
can I
together.
ask you a question?
Yeah,
So, in that philosophy, is there distinguishing between the brain, the activity of the brain, the activity of thought, and the actual mind, a mind that is in a different dimension?
yeah. Not only one dimension, several dimensions. That
Oh,
is
they said there's several
several
dimensions.
dimensions. What it
That's
is
interesting.
it is the thought is one thing like they talk about, right? And then beyond thought, there are several dimensions. So there is one place where there is a mind compiled of so many thoughts together as we kind of define it or identify it, right? But if you really look at it, there is no mind, there are only thoughts. And then once you understand that, then you can slow the thought, you can change the thought, and you can make one thought orientation and stay there, and then stop the thought and go beyond it. That is where the real yoga comes, and that has got several states of uh, extreme tranquility, harmony. So that is very peaceful, and that is the state they called samadhi. But in the samadhi, there is sampragna samadhi, rishabha samadhi, and then also asampragna samadhi. There are so many stages are there. They are extremely difficult even to comprehend.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So I want to interject a little bit.
yeah,
If the activity of thought slows down or maybe ceases and finds its right place,
yeah.
and you go beyond this conscious experience
Hmm.
and you can't articulate it. I wonder, there's nobody can say anything too much about that dimension. You can't say there's different states of consciousness or different
Exactly. You
dimensions.
cannot
You can,
describe it. You cannot
yeah,
put it in words. It has to be
exactly.
experienced.
Yeah. All right. I'm just hearing the philosophy, and I get that they're just trying to point through the door. But
Yeah,
when you start describing things beyond that dimension,
yeah.
it's hard to take
I
take
was
that
I
deep.
wasn't going to bring it up, Cosmic. You kind of asked me because I was only
No, no worries, no worries. We're
yeah,
having a conversation. Fun.
yeah.
It's fun to me. I
Because I
like
don't
this.
want to make people heavy. What I want to say is, how is the thinking happening with you? Are you thinking
Memory.
by itself, or it's coming and overwhelming you, or are you able to be focused and then put your thought in a organized way? That way you can use it and then leave it when you don't need it and be in that peaceful self of yours. That's all I'm trying to tell.
That's the difficulty because it's complicated.
Yeah.
If one can do it, one can do it. One could
Yeah.
have done it.
Yeah.
The whole notion that you could control thought
Yeah.
is the illusion.
Is
There's
yeah,
no way to control it.
it has to be first hand experience.
Yeah, I get that. So
Yeah.
that's why it's difficult hearing you speak the way we speaking. It's like
Yeah.
it's not, it may not be practical, and it's not actually how it takes place. It's like you're not controlling your thoughts, you're not
Yeah.
organizing your thoughts, but that's you're explaining a process.
Yeah.
You're trying to convey something. So I'm just giving you a little hard time.
No, no, I can see what you are talking about because
Yeah,
each person has to feel it for himself.
right.
This is
That's
like
fine.
a not like a materialistic thought that we can do some stuff like a physics, chemistry, medicine, all that. Those are
Yeah,
all valid, thoughtful things, and we want to know this one, and we want to test it out, and then we say truth is somewhere else. We'll find it. All the technology is a tool of the science, right? That's fine, but
ah,
most of
yeah,
them are objective outside. But this science is subjective within yourself. What's happening?
yeah.
There is the difference.
Hey, doctor, I got a question. Would you say this truth is a pathless approach?
Yeah,
There's no
it's a pathless
specific
land.
practice.
Yeah, it is pathless land. If you say you got to go this way, that's not it. It has to
Okay.
be a way that you can follow yourself with your own path.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I might have to start looking into the what is the philosophy? Is it India? Is it
No, there are major philosophies based on consciousness in a different way, the way they look at it. But I'm
oh
talking about
yoga?
yoga philosophy. I'm talking about, but
Yo,
there is Vedanta, Advaita. So many varieties are there. But the main thing is, if you want to understand your thinking, you want to understand what is mind, how it is. That is all written in that yoga science. And the real yoga is about that internal look at how our mind functions, how our mind can be
understanding it.
yeah, understand it and work with it so that it will be. See, actually, the mind can make a hell or heaven out of it. All I'm saying is, let us try to make a heaven out of it. Don't we go the
That's a
other
beautiful approach.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's say make it a heaven out of it by understanding it and then cooperating it and being intentional conscious. We can have a thought that is elevated. That actually the humans, as humans, we have that evolved thinking. Let us get into that instead of this outward simple things and then really getting out thinking lower down, so that's what I'm concerned about. The social media and other things, they can
Oh,
promote tools that are good for our welfare, but then they are promoting tools that can make people weaker in their
the
thinking and all
content is
that.
horrible.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm
The
talking about.
content of the world is
Yeah,
horrible
yeah,
because it's fun. And it's
yeah,
yeah. That's the challenge, my friend.
yeah. Well, I
So
love it. I love it. The way I go about it, I make my mind calm. I really love it. So I kind of share that bliss with
the
everybody else.
technique. Do you do you have a story or a technique that unlocked that door? Do you attribute it to
Yeah,
any?
be
Maybe you
quiet.
can't identify any specific thing, but
Yeah,
can you share?
two
Really?
words. Be quiet in the external mind and go within. Go inward.
You're always quiet. Yes, my friend.
Yeah,
That is simple, practical advice, but it
yeah,
doesn't say.
yeah. That really helps you a
Yep.
lot. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you, friend.
Okay. Cosmic consciousness. That's my friend.
All right.
Very good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah. So Nazli is here, Ivy is here, and Kanan is all there, and Jordan is also there. Anybody has any question or anything, Jarma? You already have to say about that, about what Cosmic shared.
Oh, he asked some very interesting questions, and I enjoyed how you answered them.
Yeah.
I did see there was a guy named Yoga or a girl, I don't know. She was down here for a bit, and she was in the
Yeah,
chat she was saying that she was trying to get up or something, but
yeah, I did not bring him up because he's kind of incoherent lots of times, and then I've seen him in other rooms also. So it was very difficult to understand, and it was very difficult to what he was trying to say. So I didn't bring it up because he's more like a makes us feel uncomfortable, and no matter who it is, you know. So that's why I said some people I should be careful. That's why I kind of did not make anybody moderator because they don't know these people, right? So all I'm here is let us be positive, let us be more pleasing and more like a, you know, trying to nurture, not to destroy people or argumentative. Say more like a, what I say is come and explore with me. That means you got to go towards the truth as you know it, and not like trying to prove anything or put people down. So this one did that. That's why I did not bring him up.
right.
Yeah, not argumentative. Best you have to explore things, right? So it's
Yeah.
first of all
I
you
do
put,
have one question. I'm just,
yeah,
can I ask, or
yeah,
you
please.
want to carry on?
No, no, go ahead.
Um, you were talking about dimensions, and I was just thinking about my late father who had dementia, really stage 4 dementia.
Yeah.
He just like dived right into it, and so during his last 9 months, I was watching him. I was taking care of him, but I was watching him all the time, just watching his movements, the way that he would. It was like he was talking to a whole different dimension,
Yeah.
moving his hands around. It was as if he was still working, like he was a machinist. So he a custom design machinist. So he was always, inventing things and creating things.
Yeah.
And it seemed that that part of him was still there, yet he wasn't able to verbalize or really know anything else that was current.
Yeah.
He did go through a period where I could understand his previous, like his early years of his life, which was really nice because I didn't ever hear those stories before. So that was a really comforting time with him.
Yeah.
But I just thought, that when he was talking, when Cosmic was talking about dimensions, I was just thinking about how I felt like I could see the different ones playing out as I was watching my father.
Yeah, you know what Kasmi was talking about dimensions of the beyond thought, but dementia is with the thought going away from us. You know, I was in geriatric medicine in 1983 to 85 in Chicago, right? So I got to see a lot of demented patients, and then that was a quite contrast to what I saw in India because all those old people are very wise, very sharp, and all that. You know, so I wanted to understand what was going on there. You know, so the mechanical thought that is employed and then it is withdrawn, like assembly workers when they are doing all this creativity work that you are talking about, they were kind of forming new cortex and all that. With the dementia, basically degeneration of the cortex. You know, if you take a CAT scan of a senile dementia patient, you can see those sulci have blurred, and you can say this man has cerebral atrophy. So when that happens, what happens is they can regain the uh, remote memory, like what happened in their youth and all that, and also all the skills that were embedded in their motor neuron system. You know, but then remembering something just happened is very difficult for them. Actually, in dementia, they lose their identification with the relationships. So it's like a slow, very long goodbye. That's why it's very, the person you knew, the personhood that was there, it slowly disappeared because they have lost all that. You know, that is what is happening. That means degeneration of the cortical cerebral physical brain is going down, is causing the problems with with your father, not the dimensions beyond the thought. They're completely totally different. But on the other hand, if you engage in yourself with this inner deeper exploration like the rishis and all those yoga persons did, you can have a very young mind, very a very late stage. I am 68 now, Jama. Do I sound like a 68-year-old person? Because I get into all sorts of new things.
I don't know. I'm 61, so
And what I'm saying is, I don't, shy away from anything new because I knew you in neuroplasticity, you can create your own brain by engaging it in newer things, something completely new. Then the neurons fire and then they form these dendritic connections. That's how it is really neuroplasticity works in a crude way. I'm explaining to you, but yoga also talked about this way back. They said the unconscious thought goes into your subconscious and it becomes the samskaras. That is like a ingrained impression, and they can go on without. That's where I'm talking about this thinking coming from somewhere, whereas you are thinking about it. So you have to understand how you have spent your time allowing the mind to go vagabond wherever it wants to go unconsciously, and that is the one you want to understand. You want to see what are my mental habits and what can I do about it. That can be done something about it. But
well, and that's what I was talking about, my procrastination.
yeah.
And I have to stay on top of it because you can allow it to go take over, and you have to just say no.
Yeah.
Like you literally have to say no. And so what I'm doing now is I'm learning Python. I've never been a programmer, but I just thought, this is one way of learning more about AI, and so I started learning Python and PHP and JavaScript, and it's all foreign to me, but I'm learning it.
I think I've learned like 10 to 30 programs in the last 30 days because I'm with this community, the Crystal Garden, and they all together, they are doing a lot of things together. They are probably half my age, all of them. But I'm in them, with them, and I'm doing all these things along with them. I can't give as much time as I would like to, but still, I'm doing it. Now, I produce these videos. Within 20 minutes, I have a beautiful video with all the text and everything, voiceover and all that. Can you imagine? I used to take 1 week to make one video. Now, 20 minutes, one video is churned out. And it's going down the
Great.
time. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it's called in video. That is the program I use. So
Yeah.
it's very easily done. So I enjoy the artificial intelligence because it does relieve me a lot of time of this other things that I have to do, right? Family duties and all that. But then that's only a tool. Beyond that, I kind of use my time for my spiritual inquiry, just to keep quiet and go inward and do all that. Especially in the morning, Jamna.
My PTR, I think every day I change it,
Mm.
but this is the artwork I kind of been playing with,
Yeah.
from tech to art,
Yeah.
and it's fascinating. By prompting, you
Yeah.
can create amazing art.
Yeah, exactly. This Mid Journey, right? Are you using that?
Mid Journey, Lexica. There's
Yeah.
a few of them. So
Yeah, Lexica is good. Yeah, see, I know all these programs. I have the Mid Journey. I made some photographs out of that, and some people are doing that. There was in the community they were talking about NFT, how to make those
that's
pictures.
how
That
to
is,
mint them.
yeah,
That's what
I don't know.
I just opened up my uh, what do you call it, Coinbase or whatever,
Yeah,
so that I can
wallet.
mint
Your wallet. Your wallet must have opened, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's what
but
it
yeah,
is.
it's fun as well as a learn,
Yeah.
like you say, a learning tool.
Yes.
And I think but my mother and my father, they were both so active and very intelligent. So I don't know why they get the dementia. Like
There are
it
multiple
it
factors.
baffles me.
Yeah, multiple factors. Nutritional based and environmental, toxic, genetic based, and also cultural. There are a lot of the way that is done is just to make a living. You learn a skill, and after you learn the skill and you're good at it, making things, you are not really growing anymore inwardly. That is the culture, right? Just study, make a living, and then enjoy yourself. That is called bhoga in yoga. But in yogis, they kind of have this what they call vairagya. That means this passion for these simple pleasures, synthetic pleasures, and then they look inward for inward peace, tranquility, inward joy, and all that. So that
Yeah,
takes a lot
I
of.
would believe that for most people, but I honestly, my father, my mother, really always was looking inward and taking care of outward. That's why I'm shocked that they got the. But then they also lived to over 90, so
Yeah,
I I
it
shouldn't
is,
be
that's why so many
that
factors, not
upset.
just this. They could be active, but then if they have some metal that they're see, aluminum was shown to cause increased dementia, and people didn't know they cooked in aluminum. Whereas if you
Yeah,
cook in the stainless steel or the copper, these radical elements will not go into. There are so many things in the water also polluted too. So we don't know which one starts, but once it starts, sometimes some people it goes pretty quickly downhill, and some people it can take several years. So we cannot
right.
say classify only these people will be like that. It is not like that, you know.
And they lived through two wars,
Yeah,
so
yeah, a lot of suffering. Yeah, a lot of suffering because so much of deprivation, so much of suffering they have seen. That also takes a toll on them. By the way, that is one thing about modern society is they hang on to the dear body and mind as though this is going to be permanent, whereas they don't have this passion for them because they know what is in the life, as life in them is permanent, and that is going to change the clothes, like it is going to close of the body and mind, and they go to the next one. So a
yeah.
lot of people live in fear, and then they suffer the diseases, and all that suffering that mind goes through is not good for the mind. They call that afflictions of the mind in yoga. They start
Yeah.
with avidya, that means ignorance of this fact that body and mind eventually they have to die because they are materialistic thing. What is
Yeah.
animating them is the spirit, is the consciousness. That is not going to go anywhere. Once you are established in that, then you say, okay, asmita, that means that this is the smaller self I think I am, I'm not. And then that kind of gives you raga, dvesha, attraction or towards some things, and then a kind of I don't want it, like a love and hate. Those things they look at like a transient things that they go. And then finally, abhinivesha, that means fear of death, a fear of not able to be here, all those things. And when somebody goes to the grief reaction, as though say they are completely, lot of brain power is lost because the grief reaction gives you that kind of trauma. So one somebody who understood all this, they may not go through that intense grief because they are accepted as all the people come here, live, and then go. So once you accept that fact, the trauma will be that much. It's not that easy, but I'm saying that once you understand this, then you see death as transition, not like an end and completely gone. You know?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my belief.
Yeah.
What my understanding.
Yeah, that's why you don't have the fear of death that much compared to somebody who do not look at that. You know.
Yeah, and I actually work a volunteer with people who are end of life care.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had some experience, but I mean, obviously, but
No,
yeah,
all religions have looked at this in a very, very deep way. The only thing is people don't talk about this because they think, oh, you're talking about death, that's all morbid and all. But now it's a matter of
that's
fact.
part of the I hate to say the word, but ignorance
Yeah,
is part of the not knowing.
not knowing.
So I
Exactly.
think more awareness and more
Exactly.
understanding of you know even the process or even being not prepared, but
Yeah.
to have some ideas as how
No, definitely
to
preparation is
walk
there.
with that person
Yeah, Janma,
during
preparation
these
is there.
days.
Preparation is there because you are educating them, right? And that education goes and understand that they are already prepared for that, kind of. Not
Right.
completely, but kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There is a saying I want to tell you here, which will make sense to you. It's called avidya kama karma. That means avidya, ignorance. According to ignorance, Karma means your actions will be there. Not your actions, your desire. Karma means desire. And then,
Yeah.
according to your desires that are based on ignorance, your actions will be. Karma means action. So avidya, kama, karma. According to your ignorance, your
Vidya?
avidya, kama means our desires, and according to our desires, our actions.
Right.
So correct your, ignorance, and then you will go. This is why that yoga, highest yoga, is called traveling from ignorance to knowledge.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that's the highest form of.
That's what my teacher always said. But he also said that many of us have too much knowledge, that we fill our heads with knowledge
Yeah.
and don't fill our head with just
No.
peace and
That's true. That's true. What they said was,
right?
yeah.
We're so busy trying to get that next degree or
Exactly.
next
Yeah.
certificate.
No, that is objective knowledge. That's all okay. But then, if that objective knowledge makes you feel like I am the superior, I have known it, then you are getting into the ignorance. That should have freed you. And then, actually, when you learn these things, you got to leave them and go for the experience.
Right.
If you hang on to the
thought takes over,
yeah,
just like your title,
yes,
thought becomes happening rather
yeah,
than.
exactly. That's why you got to keep that under the leash, kind of understand its operations, and then think consciously. Conscious thought is very important in modern treatment of all these afflictions of the mind, the diseases of the mind. So that's why I tell people yoga doesn't mean only body exercise. That may be there, that's good enough, but then it is for the mind. Understand the deeper science of that mind. Then a lot of mental problems will not be there. But then it requires a lot of listening and understanding and applying themselves inwardly, not just repeating that words, but experiencing that.
Mhm.
For that, the thought has to be quiet. That's why I said keep quiet and turn inward. That's what I told Cosmic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nazli is here. Hi, Nazli. How are you? Nice to see you. I did not see Sanya today. Maybe she is busy or something.
I remember meeting you, Nasli, I think in another room, this long time ago. But hello?
She came here yesterday to ask a question. She asked questions and then she listened. That's all. I think that's a very good way. Asking the questions and then listening. Very good. I encourage people to question themselves, anybody else, and all that, and then don't accept anything. Go and investigate. This morning, I was telling my sister and mother, my sister and my wife, the same thing. I said, first listen and then go and think. Don't accept what I said, but don't so go and think on your own and then explore that. And out of that, something comes up. Then, if you really think, oh, this is true, then only make sure it is allowed in your life. But usually they listen and then they conveniently go away. They don't remember. That's the problem. So, I think there are some. How many people are there? 30 people, maybe there. 35 people there on the wisdom. So, anybody wants to come up? Otherwise, we'll be closing the room in a few minutes. 7 o'clock is coming. So, Jama, anything else, or shall we close the room?
It's up to you, Dr. Rao. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Sonia introduced me to you. So I've been listening to your replays.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't always have. I'm always, typically working in the evenings.
Yeah.
So I like to listen to them before I go to sleep
Sure.
after meditation.
Sure. Yeah, these are all kind of. Um, for me, it is all the same life, so I don't have to make a special effort or anything. So that's what I was telling Sanya. find the balance within, then come out and convey that bliss that you feel, or the truth you feel. And then you don't have to preach anybody, but just to present opportunity to think. Then they will think and they will find out themselves.
Mm.
Yeah. All right, then I will see you tomorrow again then. Okay, Gemma?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
have a good evening.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.